So actually, many veterans and active duty members have heard about VA loans, right? But they aren't always sure what they are. Can you explain what a VA home loan is?
Absolutely. So a VA home loan is going to be a mortgage program backed by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. It's going to help any eligible veterans. That's going to include active military duty, qualifying National Guard or Reserve members, and certain surviving spouses can purchase, build, or even refinance. The VA doesn't actually lend the money, but it does guarantee a portion of the loan to approved lenders, me, which reduces risk, and then it allows the borrowers to access favorable loan terms.
Yeah. So who exactly, and I get this question, who exactly is eligible for a VA home loan?
Good question. So they do have to meet a minimum service requirement.
Okay.
And so anybody who's active duty will qualify. If they are in the National Guard or in the reserves, they just have to meet certain length of being enlisted.
Okay.
And then if there is an eligible surviving spouse of a service member who passed away, we can typically pull a certificate of eligibility for them as well.
Okay. All right. So actually, as a realtor, this is one of the ones I get a lot. There's many types of financing. What is some of the biggest benefits of a VA home loan?
Biggest benefit that most people have heard of already is that there's no down payment requirement with a VA home loan. Also, there is no requirement for private mortgage insurance, which is a big savings to your monthly payment. You'll also find that there's very competitive interest rates in comparison to conventional and FHA. There's not as many closing costs. You can finance up to 100% of the loan. And then you also have some great options for refinancing through the VA as well.
Yeah, and these benefits can be significantly beneficial to you for the benefits of home ownership.
Yeah, both on the upfront cost and in the monthly payment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, as always, every scenario is different. Give Ashley a call to find out yours. All right, so now once the veteran is pre-approved for the VA home loan, what is the next step?
So after you get pre-approved with me, you'll start home shopping. That's the fun part. I will provide a pre-approval letter, and that's going to show what your purchasing power is. So that's something I'll give to Gary, so he can help you on the front end with finding the home that fits within those parameters. And then we'll be able to also go to the seller and show that you are financially qualified and confirm that information.
Okay. So now we're going to go make an offer, right?
Yes.
And when a buyer finds the right home, how does making an offer work with the VA home loan?
Very similar process to any other home purchase. Buyer just goes ahead and submits an offer with your help through the realtor. And then if it is accepted, the home goes under contract.
Excellent. Now, after going under contract, can you explain what will happen next in the home buying process as a lender?
Good question. So you'll go through your home inspection, which typically happens with the realtor. I'm not included in that portion of things, but once you get through the home inspection, you will get to the step of ordering an appraisal. That's where I come in. So we'll order the appraisal. What this does is it determines the property's market value, and it also ensures that the home does meet the VA's minimum property requirements. We've got to make sure that the home is safe, habitable, and structurally sound. And then once we get the appraisal in, know that we have value, we don't have any subject to conditions, we will send it back to underwriting for the final approval.
Awesome. So once the appraisal and loan approval are complete, what should the buyer expect?
Yeah, so once it gets back from the underwriting department, we just kind of verify all the documents that are needed. So we'll send you your final closing disclosure, we'll talk final cash to close, and just kind of prepare you for, the ins and outs of what's going to happen next with your loan. So when is your first payment due? What time do I need to be at closing? What documents do I need? And that kind of information. Pretty easy at that point.
Yeah. And now we get to the closing table. What should the buyer expect at the closing table?
Yeah, so you'll get a lot of these documents before you even sit down at the closing table, but you will have to sign and date all of those documents. So bring your good pen. And then if you do have funds required at closing, all transactions come with closing costs. In some cases, those do get paid by the seller, but in some cases you may have to bring money to title, so we'll make sure that that's handled. And then pretty much it's just completing any of the ownership transfer paperwork. And then we pass off the keys.
There you go. So as a realtor, one of the most common questions I get is, what credit score do I need for a VA home loan?
So the VA does not have a set minimum credit score requirement. Each lender will have their own set of requirements. Generally, a 620 or higher is preferred, but not a hard requirement. This is something that I have worked with a lot lower of a credit score on. I actually have a closing on Friday with one that's lower than that. So
there you go.
So qualifications do vary by lender, but my job and my role and responsibility to you is to make sure that we have the best financial profile. And so I will work with you on the front end to make sure that we have essentially all your ducks in a row and make sure you get the best loan terms.
So what if a active duty or veteran has maybe some credit challenges?
Credit challenges do happen, life happens. So VA loans luckily are a lot more flexible than a conventional loan or an FHA loan. They look at like the entire picture, including your payment history, what your current financial stability looks like, and what your income is. So there's a lot of factors to consider in this situation. And it's not just, you made a mistake, there's something on your credit and now you can't get a loan. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, does the VA home loan have a minimum income requirement?
No, so no specific requirement as far as income goes. What's really important is having the stable and reliable income that can support what your mortgage payment and all of your monthly debts are. We want to make sure that it is going to last and continue, but a lot of times we have active duty members, their income is pretty standard and pretty stable.
Yeah. Well, what types of income can be used to qualify?
Yeah, so any type of military pay, retirement pay, disability is also an income we will work with, self-employment. I've used child support, alimony, quite a few options and different things that we can use. If you're self-employed, don't let that scare you away from coming in and getting a VA home loan. So
how do you as a lender determine the affordability?
Yeah, so we take a look at the whole credit profile. We review what's called debt to income ratio, and something unique that the VA calls residual income. This just makes sure that you have enough money left over after you pay your bills. And so they want to look at that to make sure that we're not putting you into a situation to fail.
So what is your advice to any veterans out there thinking about buying a home?
Don't assume you won't qualify. I've had a lot of people who have called me and just said, Ashley, I really don't know if, based on some of my past decisions, if I'm going to qualify or if I even have a shot at this, and many of them have bought a home. What you don't know, so give me a call and I'd love to help you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Every scenario is different, and that's great advice. The best first step is getting pre-approved so you can understand your buying power and start your home ownership journey with confidence. Again, case by case, let's chat. So as a veteran, I've experienced a lot of things when it comes to home buying myself. Again, case by case, I keep going back to that. But let's talk a little bit about some common myths with the VA home loans. First, can veterans only use their VA loan benefit once?
Nope. That is such a big misconception. In so many cases, eligible veterans can actually use their VA loan benefit multiple times throughout their lives. Depending on their entitlement and circumstances, I've even had people have 2 VA home loans at the same time.
Well, see, and again, another myth I've heard is that the VA home loan takes too long to close.
Also not true. So VA loans close in the same timeliness that a conventional or FHA loan would close, with a strong lender. Making sure our borrower is very responsive. We're going to have a smooth transaction, so they can close just as efficiently as any other loan program.
And there's another myth that's out there, and is that sellers don't like VA buyers, and that's not true either, guys.
So outdated. A well-qualified VA buyer with a solid pre-approval can be just as competitive as any other buyer. Many sellers successfully work with VA buyers every single day.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I said earlier, is do you need the perfect credit score to qualify for a VA home loan?
Definitely not. So VA doesn't require perfect credit, and VA loans, again, are more flexible than a lot of other financing options. So again, we look at the whole overall financial picture and not just your credit score. So there's a lot more to take into consideration.
Absolutely. So the takeaway from this, guys, is don't let common myths keep you from exploring your VA benefits. Again, case by case, let's have a conversation.
Yep. If you're eligible for a VA loan, give me a call today and we will talk about what's possible for your situation.